Mexico jokes, Mexican jokes. Short Mexico jokes. Q. Why do Mexicans make refried beans? A. Ever heard of a Mexican doing something right the first time? Q. What do you call a Mexican with a rubber toe? A. Roberto. Q. What do you call a Mexican with a lowered car? A. Carlos. Q. Did you hear about the Mexican train killer? A. He had locomotives. Q. Why did the blonde have sex with a Mexican? A. Her teacher told her she had to do an essay. Q. Did you hear about the Mexican racist? A. He joined the QQQ. Q. What do you call a Mexican fighting a priest? A. Alien versus Predator. Q. What's the difference between pick and choose? A. Pick means to select something and choose is what a Mexican wears on his feet. Q. What do you call four Mexicans in quicksand? A. Cuatro, cinco. Q. What is lazy and owns a lawnmower? A. A Mexican with a job. Project X is still not even close to being as crazy as a Mexican party. Nice try, gringos. Q. What do you call a Mexican midget? A. A paragraph cause he's too short to be an essay. Q. What do you get when you cross Speedy Gonzales with a country singer? A. Reba McEntire. Q. What do you call two Mexicans playing basketball? A. One-on-one. Q. Why do Mexicans never cross the border in groups of 3? A. Because there is no trespassing. Q. Why did the Mexican throw his wife off a cliff? A. Tequila. Q. How does every Mexican joke start? A. By looking over your shoulder. Q. What do you call a bunch of Mexican stoners? A. Baked beans. Q. What's the difference between a smart Mexican and a unicorn? A. Nothing, they're both fictional characters. Q. What do you get when you mix a Mexican and an octopus? A. I don't know either, but imagine that thing picking oranges. Q. What do you call a Mexican chick with no legs? A. Consuelo. Q. What do you call tall Mexicans? A. Churros. Q. Why can't Mexicans have a barbecue? A. The beans keep falling through the grill. Q. What do you get when you cross a Chinese and a Mexican man? A. A car thief who can't drive. Q. What do you call a Mexican in the knockout stages of the World Cup? A. A referee. Q. What's the difference between a Mexican and a deadbeat? A. About 3 coronas. Q. What do you get when you cross a Mexican and a German? A. A Wiener Schnitzel. Q. Why were there only 600 Mexicans at the Alamo? A. They only had 2 cars. Q. What happens when a Mexican and an Asian make a baby? A. A car thief who can't actually drive is born. Q. What do you get when you cross a Mexican and an Iranian? A. Oil of Oli. Q. Why did God give Mexicans noses? A. So they'll have something to pick in the winter. Q. What were the 2 Mexican firefighting brothers' names? A. Jose and Jose. Q. What kind of cans are there in Mexico? A. Mexicans. Q. How do you teach a Mexican to swim? A. Put fence in front of the pool. Q. What's a Mexican's favorite bookstore? A. Borders. Q. Why don't Mexicans play hide and seek? A. Cause nobody will look for them. Q. Name the only American holiday a Mexican won't celebrate. A. Labor Day. Q. What do you call a building full of Mexicans? A. Jail. Q. Why are Mexicans and basketball players alike? A. They both run, jump, shoot and steal. Q. What do Mexicans and vending machines have in common? A. They both take your money and don't work. Q. What do you call a little Mexican? A. A paragraph cause he's not an essay yet. Q. How many Mexicans does it take to screw in a light bulb? A. It doesn't matter because they're all too short. Q. How do you keep Mexicans from stealing? A. Put everything on the top shelf. Q. What's the difference between Street Patrick's Day and Cinco de Mayo? A. Nobody pretends to be Mexican. Q. What's a Mexican's favorite sport? A. Cross country. Q. What do you call a guy that's half Mexican and half Chinese that wears only one sneaker? A. Wanchu. Q. Why can't Mexicans be firemen? A. They can't tell the difference between Jose and Jose. Q. Why don't Mexicans cross the border in threes? A. Because it says no trespassing. Q. How do you starve a Mexican? A. Put their food stamps in their work boots. Q. Did you hear about the winner of the Mexican beauty contest? A. Me neither. Q. What do you call a completely shaven Mexican? A. A smooth criminal. Q. How many Mexicans does it take to change a light bulb? A. Just one. Q. What are the first 3 words in every Mexican cookbook? A. Steal a chicken. Q. How do you stop a Mexican from robbing your house? A. Put up a help wanted sign. Q. What do you call a Mexican driving a BMW? A. Grand Theft Auto. Q. Why wasn't Jesus born in Mexico? A. He couldn't find 3 wise men or a virgin. Q. What do you call a Mexican baby? A. A beanie baby. Q. What do you call a Mexican without a lawnmower? A. Unemployed. Q. Why do Mexicans drive low riders? A. They are too short to get into any other type of car. Q. How many Mexicans does it take to change a tire? A. It depends on how many need to get out of the trunk first. Q. Why do Mexicans not want their kids to marry African Americans? A. They are afraid their grandchildren will be too lazy to steal. Q. Why do you never see a funeral procession in Mexican neighborhoods? A. There are never enough jumper cables. Q. Why doesn't Mexico have an Olympic team? A. Because everyone that can run, jump, and swim is already across the border. Did you hear about those 2 Mexicans that went to college? Neither did I. If the ocean was whiskey, and the sand was cocaine, I'd be in Mexico. Feeling no pain. I'm starting a mariachi band with 4 of my Mexican friends. We'll call ourselves One Direction. Mexicans be like you're the only one for me. Mexican and black jokes are pretty much the same. Once you heard one. You've heard Jamal. I hate tacos, said no one ever. There was a taco and some nachos. The nacho was sad, so the taco said want a taco about it. And the nachos said nacho business. The Mexican government has the best social welfare system in the world. No forms to fill out, open to everyone, cost nothing to run. Is called the US border. I was about to smoke weed with a Mexican girl. Until I asked her if she had papers, she immediately ran off. Piss. This Mexican dude was taking a pee on the side of a building and this Texan sees him. After the Mexican is done, the Texan bloke asks him, "How come you Mexicans don't wash your hands after you pee?" The Mexican smiles, "Senior, we Mexicans don't piss in our hands." Mexican wedding. A big tough Mexican man married a good-looking Mexican lady and after the wedding, laid down the following rules. "Honey, I'll be home when I want, if I want and at what time I want. And I don't expect any hassle from you. I expect a great dinner to be on the table unless I tell you otherwise. I'll go hunting, fishing, boozing, and card playing when I want with my old buddies, and don't you give me a hard time about it. Those are my rules. Any comments?" His lovely new bride said, "No, that's fine with me. Just understand that there'll be sex here at 8 o'clock every night, whether you're here or not. You know you are a Mexican when You share the same social security number with all your amigos. You smell like Bo all the time. You have at least 30 cousins. You can't imagine anyone not liking spicy food. There is at least one member in your family named Maria, Guadalupe, Juan, Jose, or Jesus. You run and hide when you see the border patrol. You see a fence and want to hop over it. You have crooked teeth. You are too short to go on rides in Disneyland. You have a salsa stain on your shirt from a while ago that won't come off. You fart more than you breathe. Your biggest problem is deciding between tacos or burritos. At your service job everyone talks to you as if you don't speak English. You have at least 30 cousins. You have beans and rice with every meal. Instead of saving for your daughter's wedding you save money for her. Quinceañera. You don't want Mitt Romney to win because all your cousins will get deported. You're mowing your own grass, then a car stops to ask you how much you charge. When a song in Spanish is on the radio, and your friends ask you what they are saying. Your house smells like burning tortillas. Everyone sings Feliz Cumpleaños instead of the happy birthday song on your birthday. Gringos ask you how you roll your R's. You have tons of cousins to beat the hell out of somebody when you need them to. Your parents think you're lazy because you take Spanish in high school. Your parents will beat you with anything they can find. Brooms, shoes, wires, pans, guitars. Your mouth gets all watery when you smell something spicy. Your phone's autocorrect keeps messing up your Spanish texts to your parents. You watch Border Wars just to relive those days again. You hold tequila in one hand, a cross in the other, praying to La Virgin de Guadalupe. You are in a 5-passenger car with 8 people in it. The Halloween pumpkin on your front porch has more teeth than your spouse. All your white friends think your cousins are in drug cartels in Mexico. The foreigner. Once there was a man that came from Mexico to America. He couldn't speak English, so he went to choir and learned how to say me 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 me. Then he went to the store and saw a little girl say he stole my dolly. And on his way home he went to get meat from the butcher and learned how to say big butcher knife big butcher knife. Then he went home and watched an air freshener commercial and learned how to say plug it in plug it in. Then he went to the store and there was a murder. The police said, who killed this man? The foreigner said, me 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 me. The police said, why did you kill him? And the man said, he stole my dolly. The policeman said, what did you kill him with? The man said, big butcher knife big butcher knife. Then they took him to jail and sentenced him to death. The policeman said, any last words? And the foreigner said, plug it in plug it in. Drunk Mexican. I was bartending in Vegas and this drunk Mexican asks me for a shot of tequila and a beer. He was hurting so bad with a hangover he then asks me for another. I said, you got money? He told me no, but he is hurting so bad that he will do anything for another round. I looked at him and told him, if you could use these 3 colors in a sentence, I'll buy you a round green, pink and yellow. The drunk Mexican looks at me, thinks for a second, and tells me, I got it, señor, I got it. The telephone goes green, green, I pink it up, and I said yellow. I bought him a round